the biggest thing that I've seen and like learned too is also like taking responsibility for everything as the business owner.
Yes.
Anything that happens from like, patient came in and was being a jerk, or like the patient had a great response, or they're complaining about the insurance stuff, or they're talking about self-pay, or they fall off care. Like, that's not on your front desk or your associate or whatever. Like, that's on you as a business owner to take responsibility for every single thing that happens in the clinic.
Welcome to the Super Clinic Project Podcast, where we take regular clinic owners and turn them into cash-based multimillionaire entrepreneurs. Warning, if you're a doctor who listens to this podcast regularly, you will make millions of dollars. Do not listen to this podcast unless you want to be a successful clinic owner who helps thousands of patients achieve their health goals and adds more money than you can imagine to your bank account. You've been warned.
Welcome to the Super Clinic Project Podcast, where we take regular clinic owners and we turn them into super clinic owners. Today, we have a clinic spotlight, and the doctor is a CEO. He's a husband, he's a father, an avid golfer and hunter, and he's one out of only 67 doctors worldwide with a fellowship degree from the American Board of Brain Injury and Rehab. He's made a career of helping people with sports and neurology-based injuries. So let us welcome Zachary Price, founder of Athleterx Chiropractic and Recovery in Charlotte, North Carolina, to the show today. Welcome, Zach. How are you?
I'm doing great, Jennifer. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be here, and it's hot as heck out here in Charlotte, North Carolina, but it's nice and cool in the office.
Yes, that's how I feel here in Texas. We're about to hit over 100. It's going to get like close to 98 without the humidity and the heat, and it has been miserable. Even my dogs, it's like they go out, and for the first time, there's no, they don't dilly-dally. They're like out, then they're in, and then they're like flopping.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we have the same thing, but all the humidity just eats us up with like you're in a sauna the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, why does it have to be like that? But I'm sure there's some plants or whatever that are happy.
That's
Anyway,
right.
It's a really interesting niche that you found yourself in. Can you tell us about your journey and how you became an entrepreneur? Like, what made you decide to go out on your own or even to do this?
Yeah, so actually started with me back in college. I went to East Carolina. I was looking to do my MD in 7 program, which is like a medical degree hybrid with an undergrad degree. I did a residency in Atlantic City, saw some really crazy stuff that I didn't really want to be a part of. So I went to my academic advisor's office, and I'm sitting in the advisor's office waiting to see her and tell her like, hey, this probably isn't the program that I want to do. So I literally looked down and to the right, and there's a pamphlet for chiropractic school. And I was like, hey, let me ask her about this and see what she has to say. I was playing college soccer at the time, so our conversation developed, and we talked about more of, hey, they're health-minded. They like to keep active, stay moving. They're really not in the sick crowd type of thing. So look into it. And long story short, I went to chiropractic school. I really loved the benefits that they implemented as far as like health and well-being, staying active, doing things to take care of your body for the longevity. And then fast forward to me getting out of chiropractic school, taking my first job in a little town of Seneca, South Carolina. It's just south of Clemson. Working with a doctor there for a couple years, being an associate, and then moving to Charlotte with my now wife and 3 kids. And we took on another job looking as an independent contractor. And then as that developed, the company actually helped me open a franchise of their business. I was in that franchise for about 3 years. We opened it in the middle of COVID, like August of 2020.
Jeez.
Yeah, so we went through it, and from an entrepreneur standpoint, like everything that I had learned from the beginning all the way up to, I mean, even today, like all that was tested in a market where people didn't want to go out, but we were able to grow a business. That entrepreneurial mindset, being able to just say, hey, keep hustling, keep grinding, like people love your product, and we create immense value in what we do. So then I was actually able to buy out part of that franchise and actually acquired another company back in June and July of 2023. And then we opened Athleterx Chiropractic and Recovery. So we've been grinding ever since. 3 kids. We actually got a fourth on the way that we just found out about a couple weeks ago. So we're staying busy with it.
That is just an incredible story. So I'm going to unpack some things through your story to ask you some questions on it.
Great.
So number one, you said crazy stuff in Atlanta. So of course, I love the cheesemate. What kind of crazy stuff? Can you say what made you decide to completely change from your trajectory or what it was? I mean, can you give us any
so
hint?
Atlantic City was like I was up in New Jersey. We went there for the summer with an ex-girlfriend, and really did a residency, like an internship observation type of thing in the medical model, like the emergency room. So you can only imagine, like, it's a bigger city. We see some very interesting injuries. Like I saw people with liver failure, some of like the drug addiction stuff. There was like a lot of crazy orthopedic injuries. Had a guy get his finger cut off. There was just some like crazy things that was like, okay, this is more of just make sure they're alive and then get them out the door. Very much so different from what I have now, where people come in pain. We have life-changing results, and they see the value in our company from like, oh, hey, I was in pain and I'm really able to pick up my grandkids again. I'm able to play pickleball and golf and fish. We're right above a CrossFit gym. So for them to be able to continue to do CrossFit, to live the life that they want to live and improve it, is really kind of the biggest thing that I see from, hey, here's my shift from where I wanted to be with, hey, I want to be a medical doctor, do these things that help people, to really like seeing the benefit of, okay, we're making people's lives better because they're living to the fullest.
Oh, so it was more like you thought that you would be able to have more, you would understand the impact with people. I mean, it's not like you weren't saving lives as an ER doctor. That's like you're literally saving their life. And some of the worst, I mean, if you look back on your trips to the ER, those are some of the lowest moments most people ever have. It's the place they never want to be. It is a miserable experience, usually, from the waiting and the insurance and the just being in pain, and it's not run effective. I don't know a single ER that's run to where it really has the patient in mind, where at the end of the day, you're not like, this is as miserable as what got me here in the first place. But to be able to look at that and not feel stuck in it, I find that pretty interesting that you thought, I'm going to have a change. I mean, didn't you wrestle with that? Like, well, this is what I picked, because so many people do that. Well, this is what I've just got to do. It's what I picked. I've already sunk so much into it, that sunk cost fallacy. How were you able to get yourself out of that mindset when you had spent so much time and effort only thinking about that one goal?
Yeah, and I think that's really the only thing that I knew about. Like, we're just so much like, hey, medical doctor, physical therapy, that like traditional medical model that really wasn't shifting toward the alternative with chiropractic and more the holistic medicine. So when I was struggling with that, was just, hey, the medical doctors that I see, they look worn out, yeah, they might do okay, like financially, but there's a big struggle that I had between like, okay, I want to do well. Obviously, like we all want to do well financially, but then also like, what is the return that we see for the people that we treat, and most importantly for me and my company is the relationships that we develop with clients, to where they'll refer in families, they'll refer in their friends, their colleagues, like grandparents, grandkids, people from hours away that will come to see you only when they're in town. That's really the things that, knowing what I know now and seeing what I've seen in the 11 years that I've been doing this, and again, getting back from that struggle of, do I really want to do this? And even now I have friends who are in the medical community who are medical ER doctors, and they're actually looking to get away from that. They're my age. They're looking for a shift that, man, is just, working 12-hour shifts, 3 or 4 days a week. Yeah, I get a couple of days off, but I'm still worn out doing the things that I'm supposed to do, but it's not rewarding for me.
Yeah. That's very interesting, and I find that we of course we work nothing with clinic owners, here at Super Clinic Project. So we're working with people who've been through the same thing. But if you're considering it, there is another way to do it to even make even greater impacts. And when you think about what we do, and I'm talking about what you're doing and all of the clients that we talk to as well, and the listeners that we have, it's a new way to live to where you can avoid the ER, right? It's how
Right.
to live in health and live in wellness, to where you can have a greater enjoyment in your life. And when you make that shift, not only are you shifting in your community, because now you're providing a resource inside the community that they probably didn't have before, or they surely didn't have enough of, but you also can enhance your life. Like, it's the idea of, talk about all the time, living your divine purpose, and you have a responsibility to that. And it's interesting that you went through, let's go now we've shifted, you've made that shift, and you're in COVID with a franchise where you
Right.
have to touch and talk to people and everybody's telling you no. How were you able to navigate that? Talk about that challenge, and the fear of that, and then what you did, like, in practicality, because we do have a lot of listeners that are in franchises now that are going through the same thing. It's not COVID, but the world is different, so they're having to navigate the different landscape, which is the same thing. There are systems that you probably did not really even maybe even realizing there were systems that ended up getting what you wanted. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing from when we were in the middle of the pandemic, like literally signing documents in July, the office is actually it'll be 5 years in August 3rd. So August 2020, doors were open. I had a little bit of a client base from the office that I used to work at, and they came down. But again, back to the relationships and building on, hey, this is a place of safety. Obviously, like, there's very specific, like, state board regulations that, we're trying to adhere to. And then, oh yeah, in my free time, like, we're trying to build a clinic. I am a family man. I'm trying to be a great husband and a great dad, and a man of faith first and foremost. So that's where, really having the trust and the relationship in people that, hey, when we create that value and really the health that people want to achieve, that's when they go above and beyond for you, because you've uh, gone above and beyond for them first. So just making that sacrifice for, hey, it is a grind. It's a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of hard work, but really being instilled as an entrepreneur that we have to stay hustling the whole time. There's always opportunity out there, and my grandpa, RIP, Grandpa Chip, he was like, always work harder, and somebody's always working harder. So, like, just having that mentality that, hey, it might be a competitor or a friend, but somebody's always trying to push and be better and make you better as a result too.
Do you have any routines that you use in your life that help you to do that push? Because energy, and being able to get the energy as an entrepreneur when you also have a family, and then people get sick and there's things that happen. But do you have any specific routines, even just daily routines, that have really helped you get that energy and stay focused, even whether it's physical or mental or emotional or spiritual?
Yeah, the biggest thing that actually in probably the last 3 or 4 months, I've been getting up 6:15, reading scripture with my wife and two kids while the third one's still sleeping. But just getting that, I mean, I think it might be 5, 10, 15 minutes or so of just like, hey, we're out on the back porch, we're quiet, there's a couple little birds around. We do have chickens in the backyard, so they're making a ruckus already after laying an egg. But doing that's really kind of the start to where we get centered as a family, and just like, hey, here's how we're going to start the day. It's not just a get up and we're sprinting to the finish line. And then just building some time management things along the way. I'm actually writing like an ebook right now in the hour
Oh,
that we were that we're kind of prepping for the podcast. So just building on more of the time management things and prioritizing like your most important things first. They might not be the things that take the most time, but the things that prioritize faith and family should be the first things that I look at and that everybody looks at from an entrepreneur standpoint, and just from my personal opinion for that.
Yeah, I think that that's actually really important because if you can build in that time and make that time sacrosanct, right? That nobody messes with this time and you don't make it ridiculous too. You're not like, well, I'm going to spend 6 hours with this and give 3 hours to the business and expect the business to do anything, right? I mean, that's ridiculous. So as long as you build in that time and that time will build and you're purposeful with intent, then it's amazing how powerful the time could be. I know a lot of people and I've worked with clients and I've had them put that tomato timer app on their phones because you work in 25-minute focused increments. So if you don't get through all the email in that time, well, it's done. That was your focus. And now you get up and now you walk around, you do something, you get a drink of water, you have this, and now we're going to focus again, right? And that's when you're not doing like patient care, you're very boom, 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 right? Going from patient to patient. But the rest of your time needs to be, you need to treat your time as valuably as anyone is, because we all have the same 24 hours a day, but there are literally billionaires turning into trillionaires the same 24 hours a day. How do you utilize the time and how do you get that? Not that everybody wants to be a billionaire, but there are people who just are quite successful, even they're making 100 grand a year, but they're successful people. They're truly happy and feel like they're working on their purpose. And those are people who manage their time effectively. Do
That's
you
right.
do you have
Yeah.
any other tips about time where you can talk about that? Because it's really pretty important for clinic owners and our docs.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, hey, there's treatment time, there's lunch time,
Mhm.
and then really like kind of first, get your priorities right with, if it's a significant other, if it's your wife, if it's the kids, like making sure all that's in order at your home first is really the first priority you should have. If there's time to fit in a workout, like that's what we can do. We don't need an hour at the gym. Hey, 15 minutes, you can get your heart rate up plenty. I do some CrossFit, some interval training, weightlifting, like all that is um, plenty to stay healthy. You don't need to spend an hour and a half at the gym. That doesn't need to eat up your day either. But really, from like a time management, like Jeff Dudan has a great podcast. He's on the Homefront brands. He's been an awesome um, awesome knowledge base, and he'll say like, I've been consuming knowledge. So just consuming things and understanding like where your time is most valuable, like you're saying. If you have more time that's, hey, I know I need to work on X, Y, and Z, and you're exactly right with like, hey, the 25-minute. I do pretty good with like 30 minutes or so, and then you got to get up and do some burpees or something to get the heart rate reset and the mind reset. So doing those things, just making sure you have a schedule, and then some of the Navy SEAL stuff that I listen to is like, there's a guy's pretty rugged looking. He's like, I prepare the charges to blow open the door, and everything I do is to set the charge that we need to have, the depth that we need to do it, and the timing that we need to have. And the last thing that I do before we blow open the door is I look back at my SEALs who are ready to storm the door, and I say, execute, execute, execute. And so when those things are executed correctly, the charge is in place, nobody gets hurt, and we bring fire on the enemy. So it's like that helps me to, hey, I can run through a door, I can run through a steel door, I can run through anything, if we execute properly.
I love that. And I
Yeah,
love how
yeah.
raw it is. You just
It
want
is.
to go,
It's
yeah.
like awesome. Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. My biggest hero is Master Sergeant Benavides. So
Okay.
when he received his Medal of Honor finally from Ronald Reagan, that entire speech, I can't tell you how many times I've listened to that because he's a fellow Texan. He grew up, sharecropping. Like his family, he ended up having to like live with the grandparents. Wasn't that great of a teenager? Got into some trouble, and just the story of how many people he saved. He was paralyzed, and then he just wanted to go back to work, so he like got out of just it was sheer mental strength, and what's the difference between him and someone else? He didn't grow up with any, there's so many people who are like, well, that they have great genes, right? Or they have incredible networks, or they were trust fund kids. They want to say that this ethereal other is why someone else is successful, rather than, no, we all have our own agency and we're incredibly powerful when we use it. And so I love the fact that you have that story for that. So let's talk about what you're doing right now with the patients. Tell me a little bit about, you got certified in this incredible niche. You're only one of 67 in the entire world that does that. How are you able to breathe that? You think Charlotte, North Carolina, that doesn't seem, I would think that you would be like, oh, I'm in New York City, or I'm in Houston at the Texas Medical Center, like some big place. How are you bringing that sort of world-class stuff there and being able to differentiate yourself without having people automatically think you're out of their sphere to be able to go to? Because that's an
For sure.
interesting ad and marketing thing that you figured out.
Yeah. So with my neurology degree, it really brings just a better understanding of, how we adapt to the nervous system, how injuries occur, and really making, the over complicated very simple when we're trying to educate a patient. The people that we typically see are weekend warriors, athletes, NFL, Major League Baseball. NASCAR headquarters is in North Carolina, in Charlotte. So I see a lot of NASCAR athletes. So being able to blend what we do with the neurology aspect of it in very in-depth, types of education with the clients, is they understand that, hey, if I'm moving wrong, or when I lift a tire incorrectly, or when I hit somebody and my neck jars, like that can throw off so many things with their neurology and their messaging system. So when we're looking at targeting with ads or communication, or kind of our ideal client avatar that Rory's actually talked about, we're really trying to implement a very complex like neurology subject to a weekend warrior. And we want people to understand that there's very simple things that you can do that reset the nervous system, that change the nervous system very, very quickly. And from that certification, it really got me like thinking on, well, what else can I do other than like eye movements and head movements that affect the neurology? So that got me connected with Integrative Dry Needling and Integrative Dry Needling Institute with Dr. Frank Gargano. He's been very, very awesome in building my understanding of the nervous system as well. And then what they do from a needling standpoint, and really trying to target what we are trained on as chiropractors, and actually what he is as a physical therapist, as focusing on the nerve as the problem, as the root cause. And so building on some of that ideology, along with the clinical neuroscience background, with the degrees that I have, we really look at bringing the advancements in dry needling, which is different than acupuncture, but the advancements in dry needling with red light therapy, you might have heard of that, oxygen therapy, hyperbaric, and then some shockwave technology that really encompasses like, hey, we can affect the nerve from so many different levels, and we can tailor it to people who want to make those drastic changes in their life and in their health to get back to playing pickleball, get back to being active as an athlete, and not necessarily from like a professional standpoint, but even from, hey, I just want to get back on the golf course.
I want everyone who's listening to this that's a clinic owner pay very close attention to how he explained this. So when I have honed with clients, and I work with roofers, I work with docs, and I would go in 25 years physically in clinic and talk to people. When we're talking about avoid shiny objects syndrome, and then you hear a doc like this that we bring on, you're like, oh, but he's doing all these other things. I want you to pay attention to how he stated that, because he's still doing the same thing. He's targeting this very specific need in his community. He's only added what was needed to get them to an even better end result. So remember, if you're in business, you want to do what you do to the best of your ability. And you have to work on that first. That means you get the systems and the things. And if you can add something that helps it, not different though, it's part of that, then you want to do more. So it's doing what you do the best, doing what you do more, and then your clients will tell you if you need to do something different. So he is following that system. Let me see what I can do the best of my ability, and if there's some tool that I can use to do that. And that's very different in the marketing than someone who just goes and buys Shockwave and then suddenly we have Shockwave. Shockwave is this and Shockwave will do that, but it's disconnected from their client avatar, and their client's chief complaint.
Right.
And they don't understand why Shockwave, because they're thinking of it as this totally other different business rather than this is what's helping me do what I do to the best of its ability. Same with red light, same with everything else. Yes, can all of these be used for different things? Yeah, that's an add-on. If you see somebody with this, you can do an add-on later. But at the end of the day, you have to march them to a very clear outcome. That is what people are going to pay you the most money for, is I just need this. And if in your clinical expertise, if they do what you say and they follow your program, you can get them to that, then you have a divine responsibility to get them to that, right? And that's the difference. And I love the way you stated that, Zachary, because it's a lot, but yet it's not when it's to the same end goal of what your purpose is, right, and the promise that you're giving to your community and to the patients that you serve. So thank you. And I did not coach him ahead of time. he just said it like that, which was absolutely perfect. So what's next for you guys now? What are you most excited about here in the future for you guys? Except, I know there's a new little one, so you're expanding the family. So besides that.
We are business-wise, we have 2 offices in Charlotte. Those offices are growing. We're looking to actually franchise the company, so to create a franchising market and really bring like some of the things that we talked about as a system. So that's very cohesive, and we're able to bring that tremendous value from my clinical understanding and being able for me to impart that on other clinicians so that they can raise their experience and their knowledge and their clinical expertise in a very, very short amount of time. It's taken me 11 years to get to where I am right now, and I want to be able to do that for somebody who comes right out of school who's looking to gain expertise, gain knowledge, and gain wisdom so that they don't make the same mistakes that I do, but also do the successful things that have gotten me to where I am today.
Oh, that's a very exciting. Franchising is always fun. I've worked with many clients in the franchising journey, and I've also worked with investors, and that have helped them with that to get what they need. Because the lawyers are going to be very important during your franchising thing to get all your SEC documents correct and all your systems and your proof, right? Being able to track things correctly so that you can prove the model, right? And so you're going to need all of your financial disclosures and all of that, and getting the team on board with the tracking. So as long as you're tracking properly now, because remember, we talk about data a lot here on Super Clinic Project, but if you are planning on multiple locations, or you think, wow, I think I figured something out, and you're really proud of it, and you can franchise, you can help other clinical owners out, so they don't have to go through the trials and tribulations that you have, then the tracking is what's really important, because any investor or lawyer is going to be saying, this is what we need to see. You have to have proof.
The numbers.
It's all the numbers of that. This is our scripts. This is our process. This is our journey. And when we do this, these are the numbers that we see. Yes. And to understand that that can be duplicatable, right? And because that's going to be very important. And if you don't have all of that, you're going to spend just it won't be financially feasible. You'll
go in circles thinking you have a good month, or you have a good quarter, and then like you go back and look at the numbers, like, well, we had a great day on Monday. Like, what happened to the rest of the month?
Yeah. Yeah, not only that, but once you go to the lawyer, you'll plunk a lot of money down, and
Yeah.
then they're going to look at their network and say, "Oh, you're going to need," and they're going to pull in someone like me and someone else, and then you'll have to spend real money to get all of the tracking in place because you need to be able to give those spreadsheets, and then if you're the franchise owner, once you become a franchise owner, it's a whole different type of company. Then you're going to be looking at this data from remotely, and you're going to need to understand the dashboards so that when you see one of your locations failing or not doing as well or not as healthy as other ones, that when you have the numbers, you can immediately go, "Hey, I was seeing that. I think we're going to bring you guys in for a front desk training." And then it's a whole different story. Then you can quickly get them performing with the way they want to, rather than having someone say this franchise didn't work, even if it was them that wasn't really working it right. You can be more more involved in the franchisees that do that. At the end of the game, they're the sky's the limit. So
Yeah, the biggest thing that I've seen and like learned too is also like taking responsibility for everything as the business owner.
yes.
Anything that happens from like, oh man, patient came in and was being a jerk, or like the patient had a great response, or they're complaining about the insurance stuff, or they're talking about self-pay, or they fall off care, like that's not on your front desk or your associate or whatever. Like that's on you as a business owner to take responsibility for every single thing that happens in the clinic. If you get a random email that somebody's trying to market to you, or somebody's trying to do life insurance or whatever it may be, like all those things are your responsibility as the business owner, and it should not be on anybody else in the clinic that says, hey, well, you know this person wasn't nice to me on the phone. Like, well, you didn't train the front desk well enough to talk to them correctly on the phone. That's all like on the responsibility of the business owner.
Yeah, we have a protocol for that. Follow
Exactly
the
right.
protocol, right?
Right.
And I mean, because you can't do everything, but
Right.
you are responsible at the end of the day for the training and the oversight and the managing,
Yes.
even the managing of the managers. Absolutely
Right.
correct.
Over communicate all of that and just say, hey, like, is it clear? Is it double clear? Is it crystal clear? And make sure that there's no like, oh, well, it wasn't said like this, so I didn't understand it. Like, always over communicate those things. So there's no like, hey, I did this and it wasn't what you necessarily meant. And then I take responsibility for not communicating that correctly as the owner and as the leader of this company.
Yeah. Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, the thing that matters most is, are we making an impact in the community and helping these patients?
Yes.
And so when you have that mindset, you're going to do a much better job for your community and for the impact and value you really want in your life. We've been
Exactly.
talking with Zachary Price. Zachary, if people wanted to reach out to you and just talk to you or get some support, or they're interested maybe in your franchise, how do they reach out to you?
You can reach me a couple of different ways. If it's just kind of a clinical question, business question, my personal cell phone's 919-219-4411. You can also reach us at athleterxwest@gmail.com. And then our website is www.athleterxchiropractic.com.
That sounds great. Well, guys, you've been here with us on the Super Clinic Project. We're doing a clinic spotlight with Zachary Price, and it has been very illuminating. I want to thank you, Zachary, for being here today. And guys, don't forget to like, follow, and share. And be sure to give us a 5-star review. It's how we keep on getting this great current information to you so you can go out and be super clinics yourself. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Super Clinic Project podcast. If you like what you hear, subscribe and stay tuned for further episodes of the Super Clinic Project podcast.